Hello everybody. So today we're going to continue our little Exodia adventure. We're going to go through with every single breaker slowly and complete them all one by one. And today we're going to go with someone who used to be an old school favorite of a lot of people, and this is Lightning. So Lightning did receive quite a bit of changes coming into the patch. Most notably being the change to the Crasher shotgun. This hurts him more than any other breaker in the game. And that is because the Crasher shotgun no longer gives you 100% critical strike chance after firing. So why does this hurt Lightning so much? Well, Lightning was so powerful in the past because Shock was very, very powerful, right? So having Shock being very, very powerful meant that he could focus as much as he can on the Shock type of multipliers. Which means that to be able to do this, he needed to ignore certain relics to have more money to be able to utilize these type of things. By the Crasher giving you 100% crit means that you would be able to ignore the critical strike chance relics and go more for that scaling type of damage, but now he no longer has this alleviation as the Crasher no longer gives crit, which means we have to make up that crit in our relics here. Now, Lightning has always been phenomenal, one of the best breakers in the game for utilizing the special charge module, and that's because every single skill he has a way of double hitting or at least hitting twice per cast, which means you are guaranteed the resets. This is still the case, like, he still needs the resets for him to be very powerful. When the game got squashed down a bit and all the values in the game got a little bit of a tweak, he got impacted pretty heavily. He lost a little bit of damage in his shockwave, as well as some of his shockwave passives received a nerf because of it. He still gets the +1, he still has the damage increase to a shockwave, but it's now only 100%. He still gets to recover health, and he gets the damage multiplier. These are all still very, very fantastic things to have and feel very nice. The only difference is, in the past where you used to be able to enter, shoot the Crasher, and then just shockwave, and the boss would die instantly on Planet 1. This is no longer the case. Instead, it will actually take you a couple of casts of the shockwave to kill a boss at Planet 1. Other things that have changed are stuff like his survival skill. His survival skill used to have 3 charges and be almost infinitely spammable once you have the season tree upgraded, as it would give you enough cooldown reduction that you'd be able to use it 5-ish times before you really felt yourself running out of a charge. This is no longer the case. He now only has 2 charges and they have a longer cooldown. Why is this important? Well, this means he can no longer utilize the turret greaves like he used to be able to. In the past, you never used to actually touch your left stick at all. You used to use turret greaves and just move around by dashing. As you can tell, you can't do that now. Like, I'm spamming the button and you just physically cannot just move by only dashing. This means he cannot get as high as attack power stacking as he once was from straight out the gate. He still has a slightly higher attack power pool than other breakers, him and Uzi's both sharing the 125, whilst every other breaker has 100. So it does mean that he does have a little bit more base attack power coming out the gate, and he gets a little bit more value from attack power based relics. But all in that being said, he still plays, in my opinion, better as a skill-based breaker. We've opted to go for the usual abundance and necklace combo here to give him the highest crit as you can get, whilst not sacrificing too much in terms of damage to make it function. So we've got 75%, we've got the special charge module so we can reset our skills, and then we've got Convergent Edge's skill module to give us that amazing 50% skill power to scale our damage further. Coming over to skills, now this might be a little bit weird, but I personally feel like Lightning Slide is doing the majority of his damage now, and that's thanks to the 200% to the targets near the center. This, in combination with the shock target upgrade over here, the damage multiplier over here on his shockwave, and the somewhere over here, the shock target multiplier on his homing laser, allows him to do some pretty decent damage with just Lightning Slide alone. Now, where does his issues mainly lie? Well, in Seasonal, the last boss is completely immune to shock. So in a seasonal setting, this means, unfortunately for Lightning, he does miss out on an over 100% worth of multipliers because of the fact that boss is immune to the shock status. He is plasma damage, so he does do bonus damage to shields, but his damage is not as high as someone like Bronte to be able to really use that as a forefront. So where it would usually take you around about 2 minutes to fight the last boss as Bronte, it will probably take Lightning around 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes with perfect play to really kill that boss. But we're on about Exodia today, so we're going to go in with our skill setup, play Lightning Slide, see if we can get some shockwave stuff going as well, and go for our best. Again, using the usual toy worker that you see in every single skill build here, where I'm just going to run Mark 1 Lobo with the 20% multiplier that you see here, and then the skill power rolls to be able to have the 54% skill power coming from Lobo, much like how I would have a Power Dog, but this is unnatural to be able to get as other players now, so we're just going to use one that's actually natural, and people are able to replicate if they wanted to, and see what we can do. So we're just going to go in, hope for mechanical bosses, as mechanical bosses will be nice for lightning. Well, that's pretty good. And we're just gonna pretty much try not to get hit so we don't lose abundance, and just lightning slide on every single boss's head. Nothing too fantastic here. We will take the shockwave upgrade though. This does now mean over here in the skill boxes we're gonna have both shockwave and lightning slide stuff showing up on the left. Now I'm not gonna pick up focus weak point. It would be nice against all these mechanical bosses, but when you're doing stuff like Exodia runs, you want to be planning for Protean Beast, not the other bosses. So we're going to skip over it and instead pick up the critical power chip. Now, weapon-wise, we're just using the Striker Shotgun because it's probably the hardest hitting weapon for shotguns when it comes to lightning, and he still plays close range like he would with the Crasher anyway. And you can see the damage is just not that great right now. And that's with Lightning Slide. Start off this. Now, the Shockwave does do some decent chunks still. But where does Shockwave have an issue? Well, Shockwave's issue comes by the fact that that damage you saw there was pretty much as high as it's going to hit right now. As it's kind of hard to scale your stats in the current version of ANVIL compared to how it used to be. Lightning was one of those breakers where he is still one of my favorite breakers in terms of playstyle. I've always loved just his fast-paced, big burst damage where possible. He just suffers a little bit right now. His time in this sunlight has basically shone for a little bit too long, and they've really reeled him in a little bit. He's still fine though. It's not like he's in a bad spot. He's not an Elsa or anything. So we'll come in, we'll Shockwave, we'll then Lightning Slide. Dodge off that, try and bait the boss over here, lightning slide on his head, and then finish off. See, like, 2 lightning slides and 2 shockwaves and the boss dies. It's really not that bad. Again, those are mechanical bosses. You're really going to see the issue when we start fighting against things that aren't mechanical, and you lose that weak bonus. Like, for example, if we fought like a creature boss planet, that's another reason why we're using the Striker in honesty, was if in case creatures show up, we can at least cut their healing down a bit. +1 shockwave, that's pretty good. Ion target's honestly not bad. It does make our homing lasers do more damage to armored enemies, and homing lasers aren't terrible, but we are going to skip over it and try to just get some damage. Okay, never mind, we didn't find anything, unfortunately. So let's come in, let's fire out a shockwave sideways, so that way the projectiles chase and track onto the boss. Oh, we did get clipped earlier, didn't notice that. We should be more careful. Yes, so as lightning, you do want to stand sideways when it comes to Medusa. So that way when you fire out stuff like shockwave and your homing lasers, when they path back, they're going to go across the boss and not behind it. If it goes behind the boss, it will break on that back wall, and you will delete the projectiles on that wall. Oh, that's a little bit risky, but we went for it. And as you can tell, just from the timer alone, it might seem like the bosses are dying at a pretty quick pace, but in terms of speed running, we should be on the last planet by now. But again, not everything in ANVIL is about speed running. His clear speed is perfectly fine for that. He's actually very, very fast at doing stuff like Cerny and Symphonia speedrunning, because of the fact that he can just get around those 4x4s really quick. So he does have some speedrunning competitive nature there. Cool, we got all the shock multipliers. We just need the 25% shockwave debuff. And here you can see, now that we've lost that mechanical bonus, the DPS does drop a little bit. Nothing fantastic. He could technically make use of the blast freeze, as like you'll be cancelling your animations with the striker by dodging. but we're just going to be smart and not buy them and just invest in only damage. Let's see what we got going. We'll take the cooldown for Lightning Slide. I have tried a weapon build on him as well. I still think skill power works just better. Weapon's not bad, but it's one of those things where if you want to play a medium-sized breaker and go weapon, you might as well just play Lightning. Or even Sandman. Sandman does a slightly better job than Lightning when it comes to weapon builds, just because of his power shield. Oh, I should have waited until I could shock again, but that's okay. I lied, it was not okay. We're out of shock. That's also something you have to be very careful with, because a lot of his damage does come from the multipliers. You have to be careful that you don't waste your shock windows. Can we pick up a power chip? I think it'll be smarter to invest forward. We already have a lot of skill power, so we might as well look for more multipliers and critical damage. Finding some attack power would honestly be nice. Having a Giant's Neck turn up now would be tremendous for our damage. Well, I mean, this is also not bad. So both of these are pretty good upgrades. I'm going to take the attack power. Yes, it's only 10% per target, and we're only going to be hitting one target, but it does mean 10% per cast. So if we cast it twice in a row, it goes 20%, then the third time we use it, it'll be 30%, etc., etc., and we'll pick up Medal of Honor. It's only 10% attack power, but the 10% attack power will give us more value than 10% skill power would, since we already have a lot of skill power. We've got to fire off the lasers. Come in and... see, 231k. It's reasonable. It's about average. It's just... he's kind of like in the same sort of powerhouse as someone like... ooh, Plasma Target is very nice. And so is Shock Target. Shock Target is more value overall, though, so we will take Shock Target. He is kind of in about the same player house as Powerhouse when he's got all of his upgrades and stuff. I want to say Mountain, like he's around about the same relative strength. I think Mountain's a tiny bit stronger. It's kind of close. I think where Mountain lacks on cooldowns, Lightning gets back with the cooldowns, whereas Lightning lacks on damage, Mountain has a bit more damage. But I think because of the cooldown imbalance, I think, and the animation speed, I think Lightning, and it kind of averages out. So we'll fire out our lasers, dodge off of this, cut back down, shock, and then Lightning Slide. Wait for him to be shockable. Skip into the lightning phase. Alright, so now he's going to skip into this. We want to wait and try to have basically our full combo. So we want to be able to shock and then immediately put all our burst into him whilst he's shocked. So we got bam. And then we're going to wait again because he's going to be immune. Whilst he's gold like that, you don't ever want to waste your status proccers. Because you'll just be wasting big burst on someone that can't be burst. Okay, we also just screwed the pooch a little bit with our pathing there, but it's okay. Anyway, that was Lightning, guys. I hope you enjoyed. He is not too bad. He is fine. He's in, like, kind of the realm of... I think they should balance the game around damage like this. That way, not every fight is like jungler where you just walk in, place a mine, and then within 3 seconds, the first blind is clear. I much prefer, and I think a lot of people would prefer, if there's a little bit more engagement behind the player and the results. It's very satisfying the first time you one-shot a boss though with jungler, but that dopamine rush does fall off the more you do it. So I think with someone like Lightning, his sort of DPS realm house should be kind of what you're aiming for when it comes to balancing, and I feel like that would be very, very fun. Now, yes, that means the general pace of the game is going to be slower. It means stuff like Machine God Cyclone would have to be adjusted to compensate for that sort of stuff, but I still feel like it would be a lot more fun when you have more close fights, as well as a little bit longer fights than 2-second fights. Anyway, that's my rambling done. That's my ranting over. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.